Hello and welcome to the inaugural FightPost boxing podcast available on YouTube and the FightPost website. My name is Ben and today I am joined by Liam and Dan. How are you both fine gentlemen today?
Very well, thank you, Ben.
Very good. And
I'm very good. Good going. Last week I was on the MMA podcast, so I'm excited to see what we can do with the boxing podcast and how that plans out.
hopefully, hopefully it will go well. And got a few points of view to talk about. Mainly just reviewing the Premier Boxing Champions card from Las Vegas, headlined by Manny Pacquiao and Adrian Broner, and the Matchroom USA card from the Hoodoo Theatre in Manhattan at the Garden, and a couple of reflection points over the news which has happened in the past 7 or 8 days or so, and a brief preview of the upcoming action this weekend. As many people may be aware, it is not exactly what you call stacked in January. The main action will kick off next month.
Yeah, it's just like January, isn't it? As a whole month, it's just so dry, and you can't wait to get over it. It just seems like the sport at the minute's are halted, but we'll try and give the viewers something to keep their brains ticking, won't we?
Yeah, yes, indeed. And there's been a couple of things which have bubbling up nicely, let's say. So, as we stated, we're going to kick off things on the previous Saturday with arguably the largest fight of the year so far. Again, we've only been in January just over 3 weeks, and that would be the man and the legend Manny Pacquiao claiming a very, very one-sided, unanimous points victory over Adrian "The Problem" Broner in Las Vegas, Nevada, and he took a clean sweep across all the cards with scores of 117, 111 and 116, 112 twice in a fight which didn't live up to the billing which many people had expected. As it said, it just turned out in a lot of ways to be a procession as such. Manny Pacquiao just did what Manny Pacquiao did, which was high work rate, work off things behind the southpaw jabs, and looked very, very comfortable and showing glimpses of Manny Pacquiao of 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, which made him the man which many people love, and rightly so. And despite being at the age 40, I think he showed that he at least had something left in his career. So, first of all, Liam, what are your thoughts on that fight, which took place at the weekend?
I think Pacquiao showed that he's certainly got something left, but it's hard to tell when you've got the opposition who won't throw anything back. And it's not as if Broner can't do it, because when he does do it, he looks good. He just. I don't know if he thinks he's winning. It seemed like that at the end of the fight, didn't it?
Oh, definitely. It was, as we spoke offline previously, that it just reached a little bit of complacency. Would you say that was on the behalf of Adrian? Would you say that was the case, Dan, that he kind of...
Yeah, absolutely. I think his nickname, the Problem, didn't really give much of a problem to Manny Pacquiao. Just shows you the high caliber striking ability Manny Pacquiao still has to this day, although it's maybe a couple of years, maybe 5 or 6 years even past his prime. I think it's previously discussed. We've said that offline. We've said that Adrian Broner, he's sort of his best work was down sort of a lightweight, and he's moved up the ranks. He hasn't really hit that sort of elite status yet at the minute. He always seems to fall short at the final hurdle at the minute. But yeah, Manny Pacquiao just looks like he's still banging in there with a shout, and he has a title for a reason.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And a little bit of news coming, which was reading an interview with Leonard Ellerby, who's obviously involved in with Mayweather Promotions and Floyd Mayweather, to say that that with the link up with the PBC and Al Heyman for Pacquiao has got plenty of options available on the table, but has today distanced himself between a potential negotiation with Floyd Mayweather and Manny at this stage of his career. So we'll start on like what's next for Manny Pacquiao. I know that there's reports of a potential retina injury for Pacquiao, but again, that's only a very early comment and obviously needs further observation by the medical professionals. So if we take out that possible factor away from it, what could be next for Manny Pacquiao, Leo?
We'd all watch a Floyd fight, wouldn't we? We'd all watch a Floyd rematch.
Yeah.
But it's just going to be the same one, but not quite as good as the first, really. I would be, a 40-year-old Pacquiao. I'd be worried to watch him with the likes of Spence. I wouldn't want to see that.
No,
I said that I fancied the Danny Garcia fight, which might not be the first one people think of. I just like the style matchup in that. A guy who can punch hard and has got good timing against Pacquiao, slightly faded force. I think that would be a good matchup, meeting at the right points.
Yeah. I can see your reasoning for that fight. Like Danny Garcia is very, very good, very, very, very underrated counter-puncher. Many people previously have seen Danny Garcia as a come-forward fighter, which is truly not the case. You've only got to look back at Danny Garcia's arguably most notable win, probably against Amir Khan, of that counter-punching style, which like Manny Pacquiao would give him the opportunity to execute with his natural fighting style of coming forward with lots of punches. Maybe he could time him, don't know, but Danny Garcia is coming back in March, I believe so, and he's been out the ring for a heck of a long time since the Sean Porter defeat last year. So very, very intriguing prospect for if that fight was to get made. So what are your thoughts, Dan, on what could possibly be next for Manny Pacquiao?
It's a tough one. I mean, the welterweight division is stacked. We mentioned Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter. We obviously have Terence Crawford there as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a tough one to call at the minute. Maybe it could be someone from his past who maybe come and take a rematch. Or I actually seen Gervonta Davis, who everyone knows he's Floyd Mayweather's protege. He's actually come out the past couple of days and said that he wants Manny Pacquiao next. So I don't know if that's Floyd saying, I don't want to fight him, so Gervonta, you can fight him and get your name up there. But that's something maybe of interest, something that maybe could get a few boxing fans' eyes on the fight card. But yeah, something like that. Or as Liam said, I even think someone like Keith Thurman, maybe a year or two down the line. But I'm not 100% right now who Manny could go for. We'll wait and see.
That would be a good call for a potential match between Manny and Keith Thurman. And if it does one thing, it could potentially clear up the WBA belt situation between the regular and the super titles at welterweight, because like the both respective belt holders could argue make a claim for being top dog within the WBA rankings at least, and that would
that's wishful thinking.
That is very, very wishful thinking.
They'll just bring another. They'll have an interim champion after that.
They will have an interim. They will have an interim
yourself.
They will have an interim champion, a world champion, a super duper world champion, then a mega world champion,
and then another champion in between that.
Yeah,
you know what boxing, not boxing's like at the minute, but I think Keith Thurman sort of he's dipping his toe to get the ring rust off in his next fight. So maybe Pacquiao after that maybe might tease him before he wants to go for the likes of Errol Spence or anyone like that. So don't see why not.
I'm like, plus also as well, Keith Thurman, many people would have him favourite just simply because he's much younger and is accomplished at welterweight. He's a natural welterweight. He's got a good solid resume, good wins, good fighter, entertaining, a draw as well when he is active. That is a fight which could easily gather legs and be a very good sell, in my opinion. So completely agree with you. So moving on to the AB about billions, the problem, whatever he's called these days, Adrian Broner. As Dan alluded to, that it just seems that his best days are down at the lighter weights, and he's still only a young man. He's not even 30 yet. I believe he's only 27, 28.
Wow.
So he's still a young man, and you don't pick up world titles at feather, super feather, light, and welterweight. If you haven't got anything about you, but like looking back on the fight, I know like it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but like even against a much smaller man in Manny Pacquiao, which is in comparison to Broner, just couldn't seem to deal with with the, I don't want to say fighting style at welterweight because every fight is different, but the punishment coming at him at welterweight, obviously very heavy-handed. Manny Pacquiao, despite what is, it's just physically, he just is a very, very powerful man at welterweight, which is just obviously just due to explosive speed. But it just seems like to me that he struggles against any time he steps up at welterweight, that struggles to get off, doesn't seem to want the punishment. So is that a fair point, Liam?
It's weird because he's got such a good chin. He can actually take the punishment. Really, he looked in trouble against Maidana a couple of times. I think a lot of people enjoyed seeing that. But he gets through a fight so easily, and you see at the end of the Sean Porter fight, he drops him. You just think there's more he could give, but for whatever reason, he doesn't. And I think at welterweight, it's just, you can't bully people anymore. And if anyone's got a problem, it's his new trainer, Kevin Cunningham, because I think 140 if he's got a chance to be at that high level ever again.
I mean, he has fought tough opponents, at welterweight, like Mikey Garcia, Jesse Vargas, he took him to a draw. So, it's not like he's shying away and he's taking easy fights.
No.
Yep.
They are tough fights at welterweight, especially the higher weight class. So fair play to him, I'd say.
It is like in a lot of ways when he does. I know, like he's got good wins against he's got a very good win against Paulie Malignaggi and a couple of others at welterweight. But like when he stops up, when he faces the elite guys, is almost like he's only just the bridesmaid and never the bride. He never comes out on top. He never gets this moment as such, which is in a lot of ways a little bit of a shame. But again, he does bring on a lot of problems himself. So that if he does come down to 140 pounds, if he can make down there, that's a big if.
Yeah.
Big if. In my opinion, I think he would definitely be a top 10 player without a shadow of a doubt. What, Dan, would you agree on that? That if he was to come down 140, it would eventually be not the top dog, but one of them.
Of course, absolutely. It seems to be that the lower weight classes, you don't necessarily deplete yourself in boxing as much as other sports because there's only 3 pounds usually between a different weight class. So I mean, cutting a couple of pounds for a guy who maybe could use a lot more punching power, can maybe help him and not come up against the guys who are dropping down from maybe the higher weight classes like the welterweight, super welterweight. Just that type of gap might be easier for him to fight between. I think it could give him a new lease of life. As you said, he is only 27. He's still a lot of fights left in him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the one thing which I will say about the weight cut is between if he was to drop down to 140, it would be a 7 pound drop from.
Oh right.
Well, yeah. Wait, so like it is half a stone, but like it just comes across like if Adrian was a little bit more disciplined in his lifestyle and way how he looks after himself between fights, he could easily make it. He has, I believe, the Sean Porter fight, which he contested 12 or so months ago. That was actually a catch weight for 144 pounds for a world title. So he can do it. It's just maintaining the discipline as such. But moving on to the next talking point of that card from Las Vegas was the light heavyweight contest, which saw the WBA interim light heavyweight title and the WBC silver light heavyweight title up for grabs between Badou Jack and Marcus Brown. And as we've previously discussed, I think it was the injury of Badou Jack which took away from a very, very accomplished performance from a good up-and-coming light heavyweight in Marcus Brown with that horrific cut in the centre of the head of Badou Jack, which happened in round 7 and took away from a very, very accomplished performance, as I said. So starting with you, Liam, I know that you've seen this fight, is that what did you think of Marcus Brown's performance? It was very, very accomplished, and he did make Badou Jack look old and rusty at times. Very rusty, in fact.
Yeah, I completely agree. I actually was very impressed by him. Even in the first few rounds before the cut, what I was seeing was not what I was expecting, because I remember Marcus Brown possibly losing against Kalajic. And I get butchered on that one, but he could have lost that fight, and he smashed Shawnee Monahan, which looked good, but Monahan I think was made for him. And then he comes into this fight, and you think Jack 116, 112, Jack is the sort of guy who does nothing badly. Marcus Brown is not really impressed, but I thought he's fantastic. I thought the way he threw his lead hook and would pivot off and find a gap through the guard, I thought he was fantastic. But as you say, the biggest story of the fight would be that cut, for better or worse. So,
which was horrific. I'm going to come on to the cut later, but I thought personally that it wasn't necessarily the attacking prowess of Brown, because that is one thing which he's known for within boxing. He's very, very quick, very sharp, and very attacking. If anything, a little bit wide, as we've previously mentioned, with his shots. But I just thought personally, it was very, very defensively astute, where you were very, very hard to hit, very, very slippery, very, very awkward to land on, which was not necessarily upper body movement or just catching and blocking punches, but utilised his feet very, very well.
Definitely.
He gauged the distance, I thought, absolutely perfectly, and also as well capitalised on the early rounds. As we know, Badou Jack's a very, very I won't say slow starter, but he's a very, very methodical starter, where he will scout out what's in front of him before he utilises the game plan there and then, where he'll keep things tight. But Marcus Brown never really gave him that opportunity. It was all over him at times like a rash. Just with
that's sometimes you need to do as a fighter. If you know someone's maybe starting slowly or getting the rhythm, just go straight at them. Obviously the cut, the open body jack was one of those ones where you think to yourself, is the fight going to be stopped, or is it okay to continue? But Tony Weeks, who's one of the most experienced referees in the game, obviously thought it was fine. So that's why the fight went the full 12 rounds. But yeah, it was a horrible cut, wasn't it? It was awful to see. You like a bit of blood now and again, but not that much blood. That was too much.
It was like a man who is obviously a very proud man, Badou Jack. He wouldn't have wanted to go out stopped on a cut. No fighter likes getting stopped on a cut. But personally, I thought it was a little bit of a brave move by Tony Weeks to let the fight go, and I can see you understanding as such. Yeah. But it's just when it's there are times during the fight where Badou Jack is seen 3 or 4 times around just wiping blood away from his eyes, where it could have put him in danger. Where if Marcus Brown wasn't so far ahead and he was chasing the fight, he wouldn't have given the sportsmanship required, to wipe his eyes as such. But it's one of those. I can understand arguments for you have it of stopping it or letting it carry on. So I'm not going to cry foul that it was an absolute shocking decision to let the fight go on, because Tony Weeks, as he says, is a very, very experienced man. And I believe in round 10, Tony Weeks took Badou Jack to the inspector to check that cut out, and saw no problem with it. Just put a bit of grease on, slapped him on his back, and
away you go again.
Away you go. Yep. Away you go, son. But just looking at the scorecards, it was a very, very comprehensive victory. We've got scores of 117, 110, 116, 111, and 119, 108. Very, very accomplished performance from Marcus Brown, which gives him the WBA interim light heavyweight title, which is a road to pretty much nowhere. If we're being brutally honest, it might put him in line down the line for Dimitri Bivol fight. But but the WBC actually mandated him as mandatory for, along with Bivol, one of the most exciting light heavyweights currently in the Ukrainian Alexander Gvozdyk, which would be a very, very good fight. And we said previously offline, Liam, it would be a little bit of a barnstorm, a nice clash of styles. You've got the methodical Ukrainian style of Gvozdyk against the explosiveness and athleticism of Brown. You would say that's a very, very enticing prospect for 2019, hopefully.
Absolutely. I love Gvozdyk, and Brown has shown something I didn't think he had. I think that's a fantastic fight. Like we said offline, I think Gvozdyk's just a little bit. He's just a little bit neater, if that's the best way you can put it.
Yeah.
He's very technically proficient, and I do think he could find the gaps down the middle when, as we said, when Brown is coming in throwing those hooks, he's maybe a little bit loose, and I think Gvozdyk could find space down the middle.
Yeah.
If Gvozdyk turns up that didn't look so good against Tommy Karpency or anything in between, I think he's got some fight on his hands there.
I mean, that could possibly be one of the a sleeper fight of the year that could be possibly made. I know Gvozdyk is, all we need to say is he's Ukrainian, but I know how the Ukrainians fight. They like to Usyk and they like to Lomachenko, and he follows the exact same style. He's as a light heavyweight, expect the fighter to be as quick, but he's absolutely sharp on his feet. And yeah, Marcus Brown definitely impressed me, but I think that would be a brilliant fight, and I know all three of us would definitely campaign for that.
Yep.
Let's just talk about the WBC themselves. Actually, don't mess around with enforcing the mandatories, and actually just get it made. But it's definitely one of those sleeper fights, which I agree where it won't get the props and recognition it deserves, but it's ultimately a top draw fight, regardless of whether you know the two guys or not. It is I don't want to say a must watch just for dramatizing things, but like any purist of the sport knows that's a good fight. Very, very. It's gonna have some sort of fireworks, because as like both guys, as you said, you've got the polished and more accomplished style of Gvozdyk, and with just sheer athleticism and American style of Marcus Brown. It's top draw fight. But on the Friday previously to Saturday, obviously 24 hours between, Matchroom had their opening card of with at the Honolulu Theatre at the Madison Square Garden, one of the best venues in boxing, period, in my opinion, in that little small room down in the basement, where you had Demetrius Andrade put on let's be honest, Liam, put on a little bit of a procession against Arthur Akavov, the man who they call the Roverine famously, which is how Frank Warren sold him when he fought Billy Joe Saunders in 2016 at the Page of the Lagoon Leisure Centre in his previous challenge for this exact same belt, the WBO World Middleweight title. It kind of was what it was, wasn't it, Liam? It was I don't want to say a fight on short notice, but it was very, very quickly made with 4 or 5 weeks between the announcement and the fight itself, and it went exactly the way as many had expected it, wasn't it, Liam? Just like Demetrius Andrade putting on a professional performance.
It did. I mean, I didn't catch all of this fight. I saw the stoppage and I saw a few, if you can call them highlights. But I've got no intent to go back and watch it from the sounds of it. It is what it is. I think the only thing unexpected was that crazy stoppage in the last round. I expected Akavov to last the distance. He's tough, if nothing else. But I mean, it was pathetic stoppage. But that's you say about the headline of the Jack fight would be the cut. The headline of that fight would be the stoppage.
Yeah,
Andrade's performance.
Yeah, Yes, indeed, and I believe some even Eddie Hearn said post-fight with various members of the media said it was very, very harsh.
Yeah.
It was only it was something like only 32 seconds between for till the end of the 12th round. It wasn't like he was in complete danger. Yes, like he was tired, but like that is what happens when you get your face jabbed off for
Yeah.
11 and 3/4 rounds. I just thought it was harsh, and it was,
Yeah.
and it just like Akavov deserved to just see out the final bell. Would you agree, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fight went into the 12th round. If the referee had any hindsight of thinking of stopping it before that, you should have just let it go. It was the last round. There was no need to cut it halfway short. Well, Andran probably is happy enough because he retained his title maybe a couple of minutes before than he would expect. But yeah, it was very harsh stoppage.
Very harsh stoppage, but at least now, and as which was previously alluded to by both WBO to me personally via various communications which I've had with their European advisor and Eddie Hearn post fight, and it came to fruition yesterday with previous title holder Billy Joe Saunders being reinstalled as such as a mandatory challenger for Demetrius Andrade, where like I think personally it's one of those fights where like it was controversial before previously just due to the various grey clouded discrepancies of Billy Joe Saunders with testing positive for a banned substance, where like you had the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association saying, oh, he's tested positive for this, but then you had UCARS who follow the World Anti-Doping Association guidelines of saying, oh, he's got no case to answer for. So what I'm going to ask to you both is, will a deal be made for that fight between Saunders and Andrade, and would it be a smooth deal to be made, or would it go down to purse bids, obviously just due to apparent bad blood between both fighters and tit for tat from the both respective camps of Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, Liam?
Well, is it ever a smooth deal when you've got Billy Joe Saunders involved?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. And obviously, you got the promoter situation as well. I think they could come to a deal. I don't think Andrade is particularly big bucks, is he?
No, it's not what you would call big bucks, but as what Billy Joe Saunders himself can easily claim. I've made myself a name in North America with that fantastic outing against David Lemieux, who many had thought was the best middleweight without a world title in 2017, and made it an absolute complete shutout. Would you agree, Dan?
Was that the fight Billy Joe
and announced himself to the North American market?
Was that the fight where he sort of his opponent missed a punch and he sort of looked out in the crowd? Was that the same fight?
Yes.
Yeah. I actually remember seeing that. Billy Joe's, he's a laugh. He's hilarious. He's maybe not what the Americans like. The likes of the Furies. They don't like that sort of jokey boxer. They want you to be serious. So it's good. Both fighters, Andrade and Billy Joe, are under sort of English or British promotions. So yeah, I think that's a fight that would be interesting. All right, but it might be a bit of tug of war between Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren over the purse and stuff like that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. And as like we said, like there's nothing really much on this Matchroom USA card, which like obviously, as we both said, it's January. It's going to be quiet anyway. But arguably the most big talking point was the shock of freeweight world champion Jorge Linares being halted in the first round by Juan Cesar Cano with 3 knockdowns in the first round and ultimately being stopped, which tears up any plans for Jorge Linares to challenge for world title at £140 at this moment in time, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, it's a better blow at the Linares. He's been all over the world fighting, starting from Japan and most recently in New York and America. I think losing. I know that you can say the WBC International Silver Lightweight title, as it's called. It's not necessarily a title, but it sort of boosts you in the rankings to the WBC. You know, it was a shock. First round knockout can happen to anybody, no matter what sport you're in. It can happen, and unfortunately, an accomplished fighter like Jorge Linares got caught by it, and it's absolutely madness to see. But it's a shock. So we'll see who's put in line with him next. But yeah, it was unfortunate to see that.
And Liam, could it really be the case of possibly 140 is a little bit too much for Jorge, and would he be better off moving back down to 135 and at lightweight?
That's certainly a possibility. You know, Kano's a big chap. He punches hard, but I don't think he's not spectacular. So I think that it's a worrying sign when you're caving into that.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't the first time it's happened to Linares. He's been knocked out in the first round at least one other occasion, and again in the second round as well. So it could just be a case of he can get caught cold. He's got a tendency to every now and again that happen to him.
It literally just could be the case of just like which every boxer dreads. One of those nights where like it happens. It's like Dan alluded to, like it just happens.
Yeah.
Any fighter, regardless whether it's boxing, mixed martial arts, kickboxing, K1, wrestling, it just happens. But Linares, I think personally, he's caught between a little bit of a rock and a hard place where, like, I think he's got the size for £140, but he's an old 32 years old where he couldn't necessarily live with the punishment, where like he's been battered and bruised. But if he goes back down to lightweight and at 135, he's struggled for at least 12 to 18 months to make that weight correctly and properly, which, like, to his credit, he has done, because he's a astute professional, but he's caught in between a little bit of a rock and a hard place. Like me personally, I want to see him carry on. I think he's got lots of options at both weights, but I think it could be the case of just going back to the drawing board and reevaluating certain things in his camp potentially.
Yeah, I mean, he just sort of needs to wipe that loss off his record. I know it's on his record, but he sort of needs to wipe it away because first round knockouts tough to take, and that could play on your mind mentally more than it should. Especially an accomplished boxer like Linares, who's had 50 fights to date. You know, he has that experience, so he should. You would like to think that he'll just push on after this, use it as a bit of motivation, and wherever the fight happens, at lightweight or welterweight, you know, the options are definitely there for him.
Correct. So that was the main points of action this weekend. There's things to briefly mention. You had Amanda Serrano claiming her 8th world title at a different weight, down at super flyweight with a first round stoppage to claim the WBO super flyweight title. And you also had Australian Irishman TJ Dohoney making the first defence and successfully defending his IBF super bantamweight title over 11 rounds. But the main talking points from the previous week in the news, as we previously mentioned, we had Billy Joe Saunders being mandated by the WBO for Demetrius Andrade. But arguably the biggest news coming out from last week is the notification of a middleweight unification contest, which sees WBC and WBA world middleweight champion, who also holds the ring and lineal titles, in Saul Canelo Alvarez, taking on his IBF world middleweight title counterpart in Danny Jacobs, in an intriguing matchup for Cinco de Mayo, in no venue mooted as yet, but many would think it's Las Vegas, potentially, maybe New York, maybe the maybe the West Coast. Those details are yet to be decided. But first on your thoughts, Liam, good fight, would you say? It's got made. It definitely took the boxing world by surprise because very few little people saw this coming.
Yeah, fantastic fight. I mean, the last few Canelo fights have taken everyone by surprise as well, haven't they? Lucky Fielding, you wake up in the morning, it's Amir Khan, as I said to you guys before. It's just, you never know what's going to come next, but it's always enjoyable. I think Jacobs is a fantastic opponent. Out of any of them that are left, I think he's got the best chance to potentially beat Canelo.
As well as the other point there, Liam, Danny Jacobs, he's already fought Triple G, so maybe he could go to Triple G and say, excuse me, mate, could you give me some points of how to beat Canelo? And he'll probably just say, as we previously said offline, yes, mate, of 1 point and 1 point only. Just make sure you do not get the fight to go into 12 rounds and put it in the hand of the judges. That's maybe the one thing you can use. But yeah,
exactly.
It's an absolutely great matchup, and Danny Jacobs maybe deserved another title. He obviously has the IBF middleweight title, so I mean, why not go up and try and contest for all the middleweight titles, the WBA and the WBC anyway of Canelo. But yeah, as you said, Liam, it's just came out of nowhere. So it has, like the last couple of fights that Canelo has announced.
Yeah, indeed. But also as well, if we do go back to 2017, 2016, people could easily make the point that Danny Jacobs should have fought Sayol much sooner, because many people think that he won his encounter with Danny Jacobs, and even people still now say that the one Danny Jacobs fight for Golovkin was arguably a much more testing and bruising encounter than both of the Canelo fights, which he had, where many people, and I myself included, feel that Golovkin did more than enough to claim victory twice. So we could easily be seeing a rematch as such if things had gone to the script and what many of the experts and pundits and fans had honestly believed. But I agree, it's a very, very good fight. And sticking on to the American theme of things, Eddie Hearn has been trying to defend himself as such in the heavyweight landscape by admitting that the kingpin of the heavyweight division, Anthony Joshua, is set for a American world title defense in the United States, most likely in the East Coast, predominantly New York, could be the Madison Square Garden. I've heard rumours of Yankee Stadium, the baseball ground where the home of the world famous New York Yankees play. But many people are just coming out of the woodwork and saying it's nothing more but a marketing ploy. What has Miller actually done to earn a shot at any of the world champions? So is this just a marketing ploy, Dan, do you think?
I think it's as we've seen, I can't remember if it's an AJ fan at the minute or Eddie Hearn fan. They're just sort of be taking a step back. They've had absolute wars in their past number of fights. They're sort of smart in a way. It means they can step their foot in that American audience. So, as Dante Wilder has said, that most of the Americans don't know who he is, because he tends to fight at home. So yeah, I do think it's a marketing ploy. It's a way to get himself in the America without having to fight Wilder, getting a bit of attention on him, and of course we know Wilder is going to be there at the event. I've no doubt about that. So it'll just build up the fight between them two even more.
Yeah, indeed, and it's just same question as Dan, Liam. Is it just a case of a safe fight but brilliant exposure for Joshua, and is there any way, shape, way, or form where you could see Miller having a case to possibly win? If it does get signed off, of course, this is just talk.
I mean, first of all, Wilder and Fury have made him look a bit silly, haven't they, out of nowhere? Yeah, those two making it a fight so easy. and then going on to fight and it being such a good one, and almost certainly they'll have a rematch. Suddenly AJ looks like the left out man, and he's got to keep his name out. Oh, obviously he's a big name anyway, but he's got to either do something that gets people attention or do something that people respect, because he can't fight, Nathan Gorman in the UK or anything like that. It has to be a big deal, because the other two main guys are taking on each other. So as for whether or not Jarrell Miller's got a chance, it's hard to say. I've not seen much from him that would make me think.
And you just leave Nathan Gorman alone. He's a nice kid. Leave him alone.
Oh no. I think but at this stage, he's a prospect. That's what I mean. He's a prospect.
Yeah, I was only pulling your leg. It's okay. And sticking on the heavyweight theme. Also coming out the mouth of Eddie Hearn is Alexander Usyk could easily overtake Dillian White as the next WBO mandatory, just by the WBO rulings as the champion down at the lower weight, coming up to heavyweight from cruiserweight interstate. I want AJ, and he could easily have that fight tomorrow if he so chooses. That would be an enticing prospect, wouldn't it, Dan? A fight between Alexander Usyk, arguably the greatest cruiserweight which has ever lived up to now, easily taking on Anthony Joshua. Would be a good fight, wouldn't it? Yeah, indeed. What is your thoughts on the Usyk fight with AJ if that was to go ahead?
Well, it's a unbelievable fight, isn't it? I think that's an incredible fight. I would say, and like I said, I've said to you before, I almost can't believe I'm saying it, but I would almost like to see Usyk taking a fight to establish himself at heavyweight. I'm sure he doesn't need to, but just to get any doubt of his transition out of people's minds.
Absolutely, yeah.
If he loses to AJ in his first fight, what can people say? Oh well, he would never belong there in the first place.
Yeah. Jordan needs to take that first step, doesn't he? Doesn't want to go in against an absolute killer. That's not how the heavyweight boxing works anyway. So I think it's a huge talking point that Usyk is the skill that he has would absolutely give the likes of the AJs, the Wilders, a tough day at the office. So yeah, I think taking the fight like a Dylan White or even someone less than that, just to sort of get his name in the heavyweight talking sort of. I think it's absolutely smart if he does that, and I hope he does that and doesn't go in against a killer.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed, and K2 themselves has said that they are most likely looking to be out in more than likely May in the United States, in the final fortnight of May. So that is looking like it. If it is this AJ US escapade, it could be AJ. We don't know, but I think with the talk coming out of K2 promotions camp, it's looking more likely to be just a contender to build himself up into the weight. I think personally, and the next point, sticking on the Ukrainians. Let's just have this quick thoughts on Anthony Crolla being mandated for Vasyl Lomachenko. Again, is this just a money grab for the WBA and saying to Vasyl Lomachenko, you will make more money in the UK if you go and travel to Manchester potentially and fight Anthony Crolla? Liam?
Well, I mean, it's not much of a fight, is it? And I don't want to disrespect Crolla. I like him. I like Crolla. He's a likable chap, and he's done very well. And I don't mean to be patronising either, but this is Lomachenko we're talking about. That fight doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, it was the absolute same with me. It's when Rocky Fielding was matched up against Canelo. It was sort of like I don't want to see that. Like it'll be hard viewing, I think. But yeah, the matchup has been made. He's been the mandatory for a reason. So I wish him all the best. I hope he puts in a good shift, and I'll certainly be watching.
Definitely.
Yes, indeed, and two more final quick points to make comment over before we go into this upcoming weekend's action. As we previously said, not a lot coming up, but there is a notable name of note returning. Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury finally got officially ordered by the WBC. They have a period of 90 days to come up with an agreement. As such, I'll start with you, Dan. It's finally, as we previously mentioned, obviously it's good for boxing, it's good for the sport, it's good for fight fans, and everyone literally wins in seeing this fight again.
Absolutely, Ben. You know, I think the second the first fight was over, everybody wanted to see a rematch. So I don't think there's going to be a fan out there that doesn't want to see that matchup. The big question is, will it be over in the UK or will the rematch be in the USA again? I think Wilder will probably find it hard because he has the title. It'll be hard for him to come over here and defend it. It doesn't seem like a guy who wants to go out of his home comforts. And as we all know that the big man Fury, he won that fight. We all know he won that fight.
Yeah.
There was no way it was a draw. But yeah, it's absolutely just that it was granted a rematch.
Are you pretty much on the same sentiment there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. I'd watch it tomorrow. I can't wait.
You cannot wait. And my thoughts on it, I would like to see it in the UK, but
yeah, me too.
There is always that big question mark of especially in the stateside and how action sports work. It just depends who puts up the money up in the site fee, because there will be casinos in Las Vegas who will be wanting to put up big money for this, where like just going to the promotion, like here is some money, host it here please, and ultimately that is how the economy works, predominantly in Las Vegas, but very, very early to say. It's only been mandated for a set 7 days or so yet, so there's plenty of time for it to play out in those negotiations. And the final point of what's happened this week before we fire off into the preview section is Frank Warren and Cal Frampton have confirmed that we have options of Oscar Valdez and Leo Santa Cruz emerging out of the woodwork from out of nowhere, despite his, let's be honest, comprehensive defeat of such to Josh Warrington, his previous in his charge for the IBF featherweight title. So Dan, obviously,
I was getting that first there.
You are the Belfast native.
Oh yes.
And intriguing, isn't it? It seems like that Cal said, I don't really want to fight on. Not like it exactly involves words, but cast doubt over his future as such. Yeah. So obviously it must be pleasing for you that he's actually talking up about fighting on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he's a lot of huge home support here, and I think there's an unfortunate thing that us over here in Northern Ireland and Ireland, we've sort of bigged him up to a level where maybe has put a lot of pressure on him, especially when all the McGuigan stuff happened. He sort of felt that he had to deliver for the fans, so he took the Windsor Park gig just for the fans, which I absolutely love him for. He wanted to give back to the fans. I think the big fights are still there for him. He's only 31 years of age. He's only lost twice in his 28 fight career. So 26-2 isn't bad at all. He can certainly reward that Leo Santa Cruz third fight, because both are 1-1. That's a huge name still there. Yeah. I have no problem. I don't think anyone have a problem with that fight if it was made in the morning. Scott Quigg has been mentioned. I don't think it's a big enough opponent for Frampton. I think he wants to make a few quid. So I personally would like to see either Oscar Valdez, because he was the WBO interim featherweight champion, to his Oscar Valdez crown. So either that fight or the Leo Santa Cruz are the two fights that I want to see personally.
Yeah, indeed. As like you have said, it's not like he's lost to it's not like he's been absolutely obliterated in his defeats, but also as well he's not lost to what you would call the suspects of the division. He's lost to legitimate champions who have either been multi-weight world champions or defeated previous champions of their respective belt. So he's still got plenty of as I say, it's still got plenty of options. Wouldn't you say, Liam?
I would say. I think on one hand you've got the rubber match with Leo Santa Cruz that will sort of bring closure to that saga of both of their careers, and then you've got the exciting guy in Oscar Valdez, who's dangerous and young, and I think that could be a really, really fun fight. I worry for Frampton in the sense I think both of them are not the best style matchups. Maybe Oscar Valdez more so.
I think that we've always heard that over Frampton's career, that he's never had the best style matchups because of his height, because of his reach. But he's always done well for me. Worked on the inside, go for the body shots. He's always went for it, and I think no matter who he gets matched up against, whether it's Leo Santa Cruz, whether it's Oscar Valdez, Scott Quigg, maybe someone else, I think he's going to absolutely give it 150%, never mind 100%. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing him rest up, take the time he needs, and then get back in there.
Yeah, of course. He's sorry, Ben.
One thing which I have noticed is that we haven't spoke at all about the WBC champion in Gary Russell.
That's an interesting name there as well.
But Gary Russell, he has been for the last 3 years, only fought once a year. So you've kind of got to take him out of the equation as such. It would still be a good fight. But again, I think it would be too hard to get him actually into the ring. I think he's just happy fighting his bandages, in all honesty, Gary Russell.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, he's happy picking up his paychecks and fight money has to, and that's it. No more.
Yeah, indeed. But like me personally, I think that would be a absolute cracking fight. Whose only defeat in his career was to Vasily Lomachenko when they challenged for the then vacant WBO featherweight title some couple of years ago now. That. So moving on quickly, and finally to I know that you guys have slightly pushed for time now, so like we'll go and fire through these.
Yep,
and
let's go.
is that we've got the previously mentioned, as we spoke at the top of the show, Keith Thurman returning after a long hiatus with injury, fights falling through, and personal issues, with returning to make the next defence of his WBA Super World welterweight title against Josecito Lopez at the Barclays Centre this upcoming Saturday. It really is a fight of just getting back into the swing of things. He gets a pass. He's fighting a guy who is over the hill slightly, but is still a credible name, would you say, Dan, in Josecito?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, just in terms of Keith Thurman, he's been out for a while. It's probably well over a year, probably a year and a half, maybe more than that. And it's unfortunate to see, because he was on a nice run, beating, retaining his WBA welterweight title against Sean Porter, retaining his WBA, and winning the WBC against Danny Garcia. So he had a nice bit of momentum there, and the welterweight division at the minute is absolutely stacked. But I think Thurman himself knows he needs a sort of tune-up fight, if you want to call it that, before he fights anyone of real credibility. But, yeah. I
agree. And you, Liam, your thoughts on that?
Well, as you boys know, it's my birthday on Saturday.
Yes.
If I'm on a night out, I really won't be thinking about how this fight goes. I like Thurman. I'm glad he's back. But Lopez, he's too small, and I think he's a bit past it. But it's nice to see him back.
Yeah, indeed. I think you stated previously, in fact, your main highlight of the PBC card that weekend is Tugasot Myanmar, who fights Claudio Morero for the IBO World Featherweight title, who is from Mongolia, very, very decorated amateur, only 24 years old. He's destined for big things. So that card itself, it's a little bit quiet. You've got, as I said, you've got the IBO World Featherweight title matchup and the heavyweight contest between Adam Kownacki and Gerald Washington, boxing over 10 rounds in the heavyweight division. It kind of really is what it is. But I think the main highlight of this upcoming weekend is the most exciting super welterweight, light middleweight, 154 pounder, whoever you want to call it, in Jaime Munguia of Mexico, making the next defense of his WBO World Super Welterweight title against Takashi Inoue, the cousin of Naoya Inoue, who's a freeweight world champion down at the lightweights, who's currently participating in the World Boxing Super Series. So I think you stated previously, Liam, that you're really, really excited by Munguia. He's very, very entertaining. He's like your kind of fighter where like he's fun to watch, very, very aggressive. Like he likes boxing on the front foot.
He's scary, isn't he? He's scary.
He's a huge dude. This is a guy who's boxed as high as above super middleweight at 172 pounds.
He's a genuine freak of nature, and I hopped off my cap to anyway for stepping in the ring with him, because I checked out Inoue. I said I thought he was small. I checked him out, and the Volkswagen has him as 5'8".
Wow.
So he'll be punching almost vertically.
Yeah, indeed. I think personally the only guy which, if we're talking about pure size, who could possibly challenge Munguia, regardless of skill, just challenge him just in the big boy stakes, is his fellow Mexican Thomas Fondora, who is 6'8" and boxes at super welterweight. if we are going to talk about the land of the giants, but anyway. That is a fight which will happen 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the line, because, as I said,
absolutely,
he's only a kid, and Fondora will probably box it cruiserweight as soon as he starts eating those burritos. So have you seen much of Jaime Munguia before? I know that he's boxed Liam Smith last year in his maiden defence of his WBO title, put on a masterclass. Well, I wouldn't say masterclass, but fought a hard fight, but eventually came out strong towards the latter rounds, and most predominantly winning the title against the man who beat Miguel Cotto on his swan song in Saddam Ali inside 4 rounds. Have you seen much of Munguia?
No, not at all. If I'm gonna be honest, I've heard of Liam Smith and I've heard of Inoue, but I've very limited knowledge on Munguia. But he sounds like he's a young and up and comer. He's only 22, 23. He's a Mexican. Do we need to say any more? Sounds like he fights for the fans type guy. I'll certainly be keeping my eye on this weekend, and I'll be able to report back on you my opinion.
I agree completely, and and he was touted. If you guys can remember, do you know when at the time when Canelo Alvarez had got provisionally suspended for his clenbuterol drug testing failures, is that Tom Loeffler was actively pursuing getting Jaime Munguia in as a replacement, to fight Golovkin. So he's obviously held in high regard. So I think personally with Munguia, you will not see the best of him until he moves up to 160 and eventually 168. I think he's a guy who could easily fly through the weight classes, and he is extremely entertaining. He's got a lot of and he has got a lot going for him. So that is this weekend's up and coming action. You have got Jesus Rojas versus Cancun on that card in El Paso, Texas, promoted by Golden Boy and Top Ranker, respectively, for the WBA featherweight title. But literally, it's just one of those fights where I think Rojas will eventually just get the job done. So there's not really much to really talk about. So I will pass you guys on to your final comments. If you've got anything which you want to bring up quickly, one of you. Any final comments?
I just want to mention I recently watched the Katie Taylor documentary that was on this week over on, I think it was RT program over here in Ireland. And her recent opponent has been announced for March time, I believe. I think Katie Taylor is certainly one to watch, as well as Ryan Burnett, who's a local boy from Belfast as well. He lost his WBA bantamweight title to Nonito Donaire, as we all know from the Frampton fight. I think it was something like an accidental eye poke or something. It was something really
It was a back spasm. Or
back. That's what it
something.
was. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I knew it was something really strange. Yeah. So I'm looking
Mhm.
forward to hearing if there's any fight announcement for Ryan Burnett. And we haven't really heard much from that fight, but that's probably just my two people that I'm having my eye on at the minute, and I'm hoping to see their fights go well. And for Ryan Burnett, I hope his injury and his comeback comes well as well.
Uh, I think Adam Booth made comments about that injury at the time, a week or two after that he actually did some ligament damage as well, which took the ligament completely off the bone in the lower
Oh,
spine. So
nasty.
hence why he got stretchered off, had to be on gas and air, and couldn't walk. So, but I believe he's making good progress in his injury recovery and will be targeting a return in the summertime. So, have you got any comments, Liam, before we wrap this up?
Well, I'll just build on that as I was saying. He's got a
Yep,
lot to
yep.
offer. I hope he's still the same when he comes back, because he could be the best. I don't know. Maybe a new way we're taking, but he's got a lot to offer.
There you go. Where's your take on it? But anyway, on Ryan Burnett, make it this year sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Or just fight the winner of the World Boxing Super Series
Yeah.
in the bantamweight division. Like, it was one of the favourites, and I think it's only fair that he gets a track of what's. I don't want to say what his rightfully is, but it's always heartbreaking seeing a fighter of his caliber losing any title in
The bizarre injury, yeah.
circumstances like that, where like he was completely out of his control. It is just like the same when you see fighters have dislocated shoulders, where like it just won't pop back in and be fighting essentially one-handed. It's just a shame
Yeah.
to see, but you can say that to George Groves, and he said, "I went to box 11 rounds with both shoulders. I actually found it easy to box with one shoulder in the 12th round when he boxed Chris Eubank Jr." But hey-ho,
He made
it is
it
what
look easy.
Absolutely.
he did make it this easy. So finally, guys, I want to say thank you for joining us on Fight Post's inaugural boxing podcast. We hope to make this a weekly series and stuff, and giving you the best boxing news and coverage possibly out there. So I want to say to Liam and Dan, thank you very much, and to the listeners at home, all the best.